Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen. And this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me jump right in here and be the first to welcome you all to tonight's riveting episode of Cowboy Logic Radio. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 2 action-packed hours, unlike anything you'll ever hear on radio. Talk radio, conservative talk radio, AM, FM, whatever it is. This is unlike anything you will ever experience. Why, ladies and gentlemen, you ask? You say, Don, why?
Don,
and
why?
Say it, Donna.
Don, why?
I have to be honest and candid with everyone and say it's because I'm Don Neuen, ladies and gentlemen. And after I finish with this brief yet poignant intro, the Donna Fiducia will take over. And when the Donna Fiducia takes over, and then we have guests like KATHLEEN WILLEY coming up.
Yes.
Like Dr. RHONDA MOORMAN coming
yes.
up. I get to say very little, which
yes.
is why I take advantage of the top of the first hour.
By saying what?
I'm Don Neuen, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to also acknowledge our unbelievably great radio stations and affiliates and networks that carry us. Talk America Radio, found at talkamericaradio.us. Milano's Pizza in LaGrange, Georgia.
That's not a radio station.
Yeah, but I have to plug them.
Oh, okay.
Even though they are not an advertiser.
No,
we do not
like
take advertisers. Food. But we really like their food. Back to the stations. We've got WDDQ, Talk 92.1 FM out of South Georgia. Mm-hmm. And Milano's Pizza in LaGrange. We've also got WJHC, 107.5 FM out of North Florida. And we've also got Milano's Pizza out of LaGrange, Georgia. And ending last but not least, our dear friends at WLBB, 1330 AM, and now 106.3 FM. They have added an FM station. Why? Because of me, Don Neuen.
No,
Steve Graddick came to me and he said, Don, if you will grace the airwaves, and if you will be on LBB, I will build an FM power tower.
That is so not true.
Yeah, that last part wasn't true.
But it is nice to be able to
But
hear
it's nice for me to say that because it sounds like it was true.
Right. 1330 AM out of Carrollton, Georgia, and now 106.3 FM, and within earshot of Milano's Pizza
in LaGrange, Georgia. Any of you that live in West Georgia or even, Southwest Georgia, make the drive to LaGrange. Make the drive to Milano's Pizza. Our dear friends, Pastor Kelly Runnels and Mrs. Pastor Kelly Runnels, Paige Runnels, texted you yesterday from Milano's Pizza.
With pictures of their food.
That's right. And why were they there? Because of I'm Don Neuen, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Donna, let's get down to business here.
We really do.
I have a question for you.
What?
What do Harvey Weinstein and Bill Clinton have in common?
They both abused, assaulted, and raped women.
Correct, Donna Fiducia. Now, what does the mainstream media, the Democrat Party, Hollywood, and Hillary Clinton have in common?
They enabled all the aforementioned abuse, assaults, and rapes to occur.
Correct.
They were
appalling,
enablers.
Isn't it, ladies and gentlemen?
It totally is. In fact, Hillary says that she cannot return Harvey Weinstein's money that he donated to the Clinton Foundation That's $250,000, folks.
Why not, Donna?
Because, well, it's already been spent.
Oh, really?
This is a total house of cards that is coming down here, folks. Judge Andrew Napolitano said there's no obligation to give it back, but Weinstein could make political contributions even from jail if he wanted to, if you can believe this. So let's look at what this house of cards is bringing down.
I wonder what they would do to Harvey in jail.
Well, that's
in prison.
Story. Peter Schweitzer, author of Clinton Cash, was on Fox News Channel yesterday. He says Harvey Weinstein donated the maximum allowed to the Bill Clinton Legal Defense Fund against Monica Lewinsky decades ago. Oh, this is some house of cards.
Say it isn't true,
folks.
Donna.
Well, in 2012, in a press conference with Bill Clinton, Weinstein said he, quote, considered Bill a mentor. I guess in more ways than one.
Say it isn't true, Donna.
And the Clinton Foundation employees were asked by Chelsea Clinton to rate the foundation. Now, again, this $250,000 that Harvey Weinstein gave to them, Hillary saying has already been donated. Well, the Clinton Foundation employees actually rated it a 4 or less.
Say it isn't true, Donna.
Well, it is true. And the house of cards is tumbling down. There's even more, though. The Clinton Global Initiative, CGI, shut down after 2016 because they have no access to Hillary Clinton. These high-money donors aren't donating to her because the whole reason why they donated, and we're talking about Sharia law compliant
because they
countries
thought she
like
was going
Saudi
to be
Arabia.
the president, correct?
And the ones that abuse women to the hilt, Middle Eastern countries. What hypocrites. Hashtag double standard, hashtag total hypocrites. And
in some cases, they're hippie-crits.
Yes, this is true. They are all
like old reject hippie-crits.
The gray-haired ponytail wearing hippie-crits.
Where are they now, Ben?
And meanwhile, Hillary says she broke a toe while running downstairs in heels with a cup of coffee. First of all, you know Hillary
doesn't wear heels.
She fell up the steps in that one video we had.
Yeah, she did.
Her. I hate to make fun of somebody who definitely has a health issue, but she seriously has a health issue. I'm sorry, folks. And we've had Dr. Rhonda Moorman on beforehand talking about that, and we are going to have her on next hour, at the top of the hour, in fact, talking about how she, as an emergency room doctor, is losing her own health care thanks to Obamacare.
Yep.
That's a big story.
Yep.
But getting back to Hillary Clinton, right after the break, in fact, coming up in 15 minutes or so, we're going to have Kathleen Willey on. Kathleen Willey, Juanita Broderick, and Paula Jones, just to mention 3, were victims of Bill Clinton's sexual abuse.
And Hillary Clinton's enabling.
Exactly. And she's going to talk about that. Again, it was 1 year ago, in fact, just a little over 1 year ago, last week, when those 3 great women who had the guts to stand up.
Plus a 4th, and we can't ever remember what her name was.
Yeah, she was young or whatever.
Is.
Yeah, and the thing is, Donald Trump trotted them out and stuck them right in the front row during the second debate, and it was priceless. Kathleen will recount that, and she's, she waited decades for this. We are so happy for her to be able to finally get some vindication. So the house of cards may be starting to fall, but it's not what the mainstream media was hoping for. Nope, it's not Donald Trump.
What were they hoping for, Donna?
Well, they were hoping for Donald Trump to go down in flames.
That's right.
But
that hasn't happened yet, has it, Donna?
No, it might even be more than just Harvey Weinstein, though. It might just be a lot. A lot.
Who might it be, Donna?
Well, besides the dozens of charges by big-time actresses against Harvey Weinstein. Now, obviously, these were just starlets in the making years ago, so they kept their mouths shut to try to, to make it big in Hollywood.
They kept their mouths shut, but took their clothes off.
Yes, exactly. Now,
Ashley Judd.
She takes her clothes off anyhow.
Now,
A-list assault seems to be shaping up. An Oscar-winning actor is caught up in the Weinstein sex abuse scandal.
Yeah, but he didn't come out and say who he was.
Right. A top U.S. broadcaster has accused this Oscar-winning actor of assaulting a loved one, possibly his wife. The actor cannot be named for legal reasons. An insider says, quote, rumors about this actor have circulated for years. Now, they did have a situation with Matt Damon or whatever, and the the quote, and it showed a picture of him with Harvey Weinstein, and it said, "Goodwill punting," because he wouldn't make a comment about it.
You think it's Matt Damon?
There's one of them. Could be.
Or what's the other
buddy?
guy's name?
Yeah, Matt Damon, or his buddy. One of those two. But but the thing
I don't
is,
know. If you're going to make a claim like that, people need to know who you are, or people like you and me go, he has no credibility yet.
Well, the thing is, though, this is so
once he comes out of the shadows.
This has been happening through time immemorial. I don't care what anybody says. A British actress...
It happened in the industry you were in.
Exactly. It happens in business. It happens, period. Ex-Pussycat Doll, a woman named Kaya Jones, compared it to a prostitution ring. Problem is, have you ever seen a picture of how she dresses in some of these get-togethers and red
Kaya
carpet things?
Jones?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of her.
She's ex-Pussycat Doll. All I can say is...
Okay.
What do you think you're asking for if you dress like that? But that's another story. I mean,
you're asking for Harvey Weinstein.
Well, one British actress said sexually inappropriate behavior, quote, happened every week.
Hey, Donna, what does Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin, and Harvey Weinstein have in common?
They're all really ugly.
Well, they're all intertwined with sexual deviants and perverts.
This is true.
Like Bill and the
Husbands.
Wiener.
Yeah, husbands, the Wiener.
It's like a social club of people that you and I would never, ever, ever want to hang around with.
No, it's. Really,
I mean, can you imagine
ridiculous.
if that's all we had were for friends? Were people like Bill and Hillary Clinton, or Huma Abedin, or Harvey Weinstein, or Anthony Weiner?
But see, it just gets to me because, and we're going to play the clips for Kathleen Willie when we have her on after the break.
The interview
of
clips.
What Hillary Clinton said on the BBC.
When she blamed Trump.
She blames Trump.
She compared Trump to Weinstein.
Kidding me. You're talking about a woman who was married to Bill Clinton. By the way, they kept saying if you're a victim of sexual abuse, do hashtag Me Too. Guess who did hashtag Me Too and is totally being ignored?
Who?
Monica Lewinsky.
Well,
after all this.
I think Monica may have had something to do with what she got into.
But you know what? Careful
but I'll tell
what
you what.
Wish for.
Here's what is shocking to me. The number of friends that I've got on Facebook and that you share with me as friends that put Me Too on there. The number of women that Donna and I are friends with on Facebook, I'm not going to name a single one of them. You want to go to Facebook, that have come back with Me Too. It's appalling.
Yeah, Me Too, as a matter of fact. On more instances than once, and I can honestly tell you, most of it happened in radio, when I was in radio. Absolutely. There's just, the casting couch isn't only for Hollywood, folks. It's there. And you know what? You cannot tell me it doesn't happen. It's happening in what? Amazon?
Oh yeah.
You know,
one of the brass at Amazon's going down.
Absolutely.
NBC's having problems big time.
And they should. They should. And all I can say is Mia Farrow's son, Ronan Farrow. Oh my God.
You talked about that all weekend, Donna.
Like Frank
all
Sinatra.
weekend. You and Tina talked about this all weekend.
There is no way that kid...
He's Frank Sinatra's kid.
There's no way that kid has Woody Allen for a father. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
There's no
ladies
way.
and gentlemen, you got to understand
another
something.
Sexual abuser,
no, listen.
Woody Allen.
Yeah, but listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. You got to understand something about Donna Fiducia. When she gets on a tirade about something, it doesn't ever end.
Sorry.
It's nonstop. Probably no less than 300 times this week, I heard her say, oh, what's the guy's name? Ronan Farrow?
Ronan Farrow.
Ronan
but every
Farrow.
time he was on, I'm like, oh my God.
Now look at that. Look, he's got Frank
picture.
Sinatra's mouth. Look, he's got Frank Sinatra's eyes. Look, he's got Frank Sinatra's earlobes. Look at how his nostrils
The
flare.
only thing-
Those are Frank Sinatra's nostrils. And I'm sitting here looking at this schmuck on TV, and I'm going, one thing's for certain. He doesn't look like Woody, what's his name?
Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
The thing is, he was raised by Woody Allen. He talks like Woody Allen.
Well, he was from New York, wasn't he?
But then to sit there
They
and
all
say,
sound the same
but
up
Woody
there.
Allen, for people who don't remember this, ended up going out and I believe marrying Soon-Yi Previn, which was another one of his adopted kids. And so Ronan Farrow's going, this pervert married my sister.
Yeah, he's actually my brother-in-law or whatever.
I know.
Hey, listen.
This is how screwed up Hollywood is.
Got to do a shout out to a buddy of yours from years and 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 years ago, Donna Fiducia. Today, I spoke with Gus Hennenberg.
You did?
I did indeed.
What is he doing? Is he still?
He's headed out on tour. I'm not going to tell everybody who's.
Really?
Yeah. But he gave me a call this morning. We talked about you. Then we got another buddy of mine that's with another bus company on the phone with us. So we had Gus, who considers himself to be like an independent guy. Mm-hmm. Then we had my buddy Lamar, who considers himself to be a Democrat. Mm-hmm. And they had me on the phone.
Uh-oh.
And it was a fabulous conversation.
Really?
We all agreed on everything that we talked about. And the biggest thing that we agreed on was the fact that nobody in D.C. can agree on anything, and that's the problem.
Yeah, all sides stink. But
I got to tell you,
I don't say the word stink.
When Gus was on with Lamar and I, Gus sounded really intelligent.
He is.
Compared to Lamar.
He's from
and
New
me.
Jersey. What do you expect?
Well, I expect crappy public education is what I expect.
Well, that's true, but they're all better.
But Gus
spoken.
evidently studied outside of the crappy New Jersey public education
they
system.
can also write script up there.
Well, and I think he went to Schmuchters or whatever that college is. Rutgers.
Well, I went to Seton Hall, who also went to Seton Hall. The Rifleman, Chuck Connors, went to Seton Hall, folks. How cool is that? And he played professional baseball.
And basketball. Hey, here's a fun fact, Donna. Chuck Connors was the first, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard of The Rifleman, go on to Amazon
What a
TV.
great show.
And watch all 5 seasons of the Rifleman.
Which we've
Chuck
done.
Connors is one of the only actors, if not the only actor, to have played professional basketball with the Celtics, professional baseball with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he got drafted by the Chicago Bears, so he played professional football as well.
The Bears.
Now, here's the thing. Here's a little fun fact.
And he went to
ladies and
Seton Hall.
gentlemen, you can share this tomorrow morning around the water cooler and appear to be more intelligent than you are, because that's what I did. Here's the deal, Donna.
What?
Chuck Connors is the first professional basketball player to shatter a backboard.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Well, he was a
I
big
wouldn't
guy.
kid about something that has to do with Lucas McCain.
It's amazing what you can do when you Google.
That's right.
What
It's
you
amazing
learn.
what we do when we binge watch television and can't figure out what to do, so we Google about the
Trying
show.
to figure out what else to watch next. Hey, by the way.
Hey, we're watching Blacklisted.
Yeah, well.
Or Blacklist, or whatever
speaking
it's
of House
called.
of Cards.
Creepy, man.
James Spader. It is pretty creepy.
Creepy.
Yep. Hey, speaking of New Jersey colleges and higher levels of education, Princeton University is asking the question, is conservatism a viable conversation? Can you imagine?
Well, let me ask the question, is Princeton University a viable secondary education?
Well, Princeton actually receives federal funds for scholarships and research. Could violating...
So does the National Football League.
Well, exactly. So could violating freedom of speech mean that they lose their federal dollars?
I think it should, Donna. And I'll tell you what,
Interesting.
whoever hires Hillary Clinton, I think it's Columbia that's courting her for
what a joke
professorship.
That is. Well, that's where Obama supposedly was, too.
Well, yeah, but he didn't do anything there, just like he didn't do anything at Harvard Law School. But that's a story for later on in the show. We're going to ask Dr. Rhonda Moorman about that.
Well, Loretta Lynch is going to testify behind closed doors, albeit.
How much you want to bet she's going to take the fifth?
With the aforementioned
You think she'll take the fifth?
Bill Clinton.
Do you? I'm asking
sure.
you now, Donna, in your rhinestone glasses.
She say I can't recall. These rhinestone glasses cost me $1, at Dollar
That's right.
General.
But from here, they look real.
They work. That's all I can tell you.
What magnification are you using right now?
2.5. It's getting worse.
I'm at 2.25, Donna.
I need to have LASIK or whatever the heck you call that. And I don't know what it's called for reading. I can see distance. I still can't see a damn thing right in front of my face.
Big shout out to my oldest son, Lee Neuen. Lee is out on tour right now with
great eyesight.
Magpie Salute.
Magpies.
That's a bunch of guys that used to be in the band, the Black Crowes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know the Black Crowes.
So,
In fact, the Black Crowes were around when I worked with Gus Henningberg.
Let me tell you who else was around when you worked with Gus Henningberg.
The Beatles.
Buddy Holly.
It's not nice. Hey, isn't like what's his face from the Rolling Stones still alive?
The Strolling Bones.
The Strolling Bones.
Hey, I got to bring up one more thing,
Bill
Donna.
Wyman, he's still breathing. We lose Tom Petty. Bill Wyman's still breathing.
Had a good buddy by the name of Ray Powers that went and checked out the band Kansas this past weekend
Still
in Evansville, Indiana.
Amazing.
I called Ray after the show to get his thoughts on it because this is a band he's never seen before, but he's always really admired. Mm-hmm. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you have the opportunity to go see the band Kansas perform live, you will agree undoubtedly with Ray Powers' observation of this band. He said they are without a doubt the best, the most tight, the most unbelievably accurate live band that he's ever seen in his entire life.
Even now.
And the drummer, Phil Ehart, because Ray's a drummer. He was a drummer when he was a kid. So he was checking out Phil. He goes, amazing. I was speechless. But I was speechless because the band was phenomenal.
Wow, that's great to hear.
And it's so nice to hear about a band that plays really hard stuff. I mean, this is stuff that club bands can't play.
No, there's
it's
no
difficult
way.
Music.
You listen to it and you go, oh my gosh, there's so many layers.
It's time signatures are like 9/8 and 12/8 and 7/4 and everything else. He said it was the most phenomenal thing he's ever heard in his entire life. The best band. And
this is a band that's been around now since the early 70s.
40. They're celebrating their 40th anniversary of the album Left Overture. That had Carry On Wayward Son. Yep. Donna, we got to go. Who's coming up tonight? We've got a big show.
Well, I just want to say, by the way, almost 60 new highs this year, 5.1 trillion added to the stock market with the Trump bump. Just got to get that in. Just got to get that.
Just got to get it in. But now you got to get it. Who's coming up next?
We will be talking to Kathleen Willie, the aforementioned woman who's going to. Well, she knows firsthand about Bill Clinton.
She's a victim of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton.
And she's going to.
And who's next?
She's going to talk
Kathleen.
about the BBC interview, among other things. And we'll be talking to Dr. Rhonda Moorman, who went to Harvard Law and is also a medical doctor. But she went to Harvard Law with Barack Hussein Obama. It's coming next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. Their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance, yes. When cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance, yes. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
This is Denise Simon. 18 hours a day, I live in a world as an intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence. What I find is reprehensible. What I find is terrifying. What I find is treasonous. 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 The mainstream media has completely failed the American people. 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 Join me for the Denise Simon Experience every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Donna, you know, I sure miss listening to Neil Bortz every morning on my drive into Atlanta.
I know what you mean, Don. Talk about appointment radio. Neil Bortz was the morning jolt of reality and political incorrectness that millions of people needed to start their day.
You're so correct. When Neil retired, I seriously felt a major void in talk radio.
Well, no need to feel that void now, Don. Neil is available on demand with his exclusive and completely unfiltered podcast called Bortzcast.
That's right, Donna. Neil no longer is faced with dealing with the FCC. His Bortzcasts are unfiltered, politically incorrect, common sense. Think of it as Cowboy Logic Radio on steroids.
No, think of it as Neil Bortz on steroids.
I do stand corrected. Neil Bortz on steroids.
Ladies and gentlemen, go to connectpal.com/Bortzcast and find out why Don and I are faithful subscribers to his podcast.
Donna, it's only $4.99 a month. $4.99 a month. Chump change. To once again listen to Neil Bortz, my radio hero.
He's my radio hero, too. Go to connectpal.com/Bortzcast right now. Sign up and experience Neil Bortz again like never before.
connectpal.com/Bortzcast. Sign up today.
Hi, this is Michelle Malkin from CRTV.com, and you're listening to Talk America Radio.
This is Don Neuen, co-host of the Drive Time Sit Rep. Join me as I call in to my intel analyst, Denise Simon, for my daily situation report, or Sit Rep, the Drive Time Sit Rep. Check talkamericaradio.us for more information and show times.
Hi, this is Dr. Kelly Ward from the great state of Arizona, and you're listening to Talk America Radio, the new dominant force in conservative talk radio.
Donald Trump came to Washington vowing to drain the swamp and make government work for the American people. But the swamp creatures in D.C. aren't going down without a fight, and the deep state is determined to overturn the election and keep their gravy train rolling. In these turbulent times, it's critical for patriots to stay engaged and be prepared to defend this president. You can stay up to date on Trump's battle to make America great again by listening to America First Radio with Jim Dawes each weeknight at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Liberty Feed.
Hi, this is Denise Simon of the Denise Simon Experience. You are listening to Talk America Radio, the new dominant force in conservative talk radio.
Hey everybody, they're back on again!
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts, when their hearts were filled with memories, bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glare. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Don Neuen. Let me be the first to welcome you back to the Big Cowboy Logic Radio Show. This show is absolutely riveting, Donna. I am riveted, Donna, and I don't mean the kind of metal thing where you press a metal rivet into the side of a ship. I do not mean that. I mean riveting as in spellbinding and mind-numbing, and it's about to get even more. Why, Donna? Because we've got one of our heroes on here with us right now.
That would be Kathleen Willey. Kathleen Willey, everybody knows. Well, you know, it's already been a year since we saw her and Juanita Broderick and why am I drawing a blank here?
Paula Jones.
In front of, right in the front row, Kathleen. It was priceless. In front of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump
and Bill and Chelsea
and Bill and Chelsea.
Bill.
Yeah, that was pretty darn
good. What a stellar moment for you and for us.
No idea. The look of sheer terror on his face was almost, and I say almost worse, the 20 years of trauma and terror that I and the other women lived through.
Now, this was the second presidential debate. Am I correct? Or was it the third
October
one?
9th, 2016.
It was the second one.
Okay, second one. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, that somehow must have had your head in the sand, during the second, I believe it was the second, presidential debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump pulled all of the aces out of the deck and escorted them into the arena. Well, prior to that, you guys were at a press conference, and you had no idea why you were going into this. But then you were placed, I believe, on the second row, right behind the Trump family, for the entire squirming, uncomfortable moment for both Bill, Hillary, and if Chelsea has a conscience or any type of a soul, probably her as well.
The way I see it...
she was looking pretty shell-shocked herself.
Good. But the way I see it, Kathleen, this obviously is a good turnabout is fair play to me, because they have done this to you for decades. You accused Bill Clinton of basically sexually molesting you. Assaulting you. And he got away with it, and Hillary called you and Juanita and Paula Jones bimbo eruptions, among other things. And she did everything she could.
Bimbo eruptions, you name it. Yeah.
Yep. Now we have...
Well, we call you our sister, Kathleen Willie. It doesn't get any closer than that.
No, it doesn't.
Thank you.
And the thing is, through the decades, you mentioned that the Clintons had their own hitmen. Paul Begala, Lanny Davis, James Carville, people who basically...
Sid Blumenthal, who was the worst of them, the worst. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they tried
Terry McAuliffe.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you're a Democrat, it's okay. Now let's do a Harvey Weinstein.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Before we get into Numbnut Weinstein, I think we need to kind of set the stage, because the last time that we had Kathleen on was a while back. I'm thinking right back after the presidential debate. But Kathleen, you were a lifelong Democrat. You were a huge Democrat fundraiser and supporter for the state of Virginia. You had very close ties with the Democrat Party. You had very close ties with the Clinton White House, and you raised a ton of money for the Clintons as well as other Democrat politicians. And there was a horrific weekend and week following in your life that took place while Bill Clinton was in office. And if you don't mind, I don't think we need to take up a great part of this interview, but I feel like it's important to set the foundation for the listener here. Let's go back to that terrible Thanksgiving weekend and explain to the listeners why you have become a target of the Clintons.
Thanksgiving weekend of 1993, my children were home. My son brought a friend. We were all together for Thanksgiving. And it was at that point when my husband finally sat down and told my children a little bit about what had been going on financially. And he was in a lot of trouble. And so I said to my family, I am going to go to the White House on Monday, and I'm going to ask for a job, because I can't volunteer anymore. I've got to get a paying job. So I went to the White House. I asked for a few minutes with the president. I was surprised to get it, but I did. And I went in to see him in the Oval Office. And at that point, I'd been trying to reach my husband all day and hadn't been able to. And I was upset, and I was trying hard not to cry, but it wasn't easy. And he said, well, why don't you come back into that? I've got a small little kitchen in the back, and why don't you come back and I'll fix you a cup of coffee? It looks like you need one. And I said, well, it's okay. I didn't think anything of it. And so he said, well, let's go into my private little study here where we can have more privacy. And I thought, well, don't we have enough privacy in the Oval Office? But, I didn't think anything of it. as I learned later, that was his little lair for his and Monica's tryst. And so he sat down on a chair, or the end of a sofa, I think, and I stood in the doorway, and I just started telling him what was going on, and that my volunteer days were over, and I was worried about my husband, hadn't been able to reach him all day, and the first thing I needed to do was get on the next train home and try to find him. But in the meantime, I have to have a paying job, and so. He sat there and looked all concerned and everything. So, I kept saying, I don't want to take up all your time because they fit me in. And he said, oh, don't worry about that, and don't worry about that. And I went out into this little hall that goes back into the Oval Office, and he either took my coffee cup and put it down on the table, or I put it down on the table, and the next thing I knew, he had me, cornered, and he was all over me, and I just kept thinking to myself, what is he doing? I was so shocked, and I kept thinking, what is he doing? And he's just whispering in my ear, and very inappropriate behavior, and I just thought, how am I going to gracefully get out of this? Because the thought occurred to me, well, I could slap him, or I could give him the knee, or I could do something. But then I said, well, the Secret Service is outside, and they're going to come swarming in here, if I start screaming, and God knows what's going to happen to me next. So I just there was one brief moment in time when his assistant, Andrew Friendly, started banging on the door and saying, on the Oval Office door that went back into there, and kept saying, Mr. President, you've got people waiting for you out here. You have people waiting for it. And he never said a word. And I kept saying, well, you got people waiting for you out there. I've got to go. You've got to go. And it didn't faze him in the slightest. He just kept on. And then Andrew banged on the door again, and it was at that moment, that was my moment of escape. And I got out of there, and he followed me and went and sat behind his desk, and I walked across the Oval Office to the door, and I kept thinking to myself, who in the name of God is on the other side of the door? I don't want to see them. I was trying to put myself together, and of course it was Lloyd Benson and Leon Panetta, and Laura Tyson. And I just thought, holy God, I don't need this. And I just raced out of there. And that was that.
Kathleen, Willie, there was also a moment when we've had you on as a guest in the past that you mentioned a very troubling question, or statement, I should say, that Bill Clinton said to you. And he went either right when you came in to the Oval Office or shortly thereafter, in which he said, hey, I'm really sorry to hear about your husband. And you didn't know what he was talking about. Give the listener a little bit of a foundation for that.
I didn't, I was in such a state of shock that I didn't remember it first. And then I called my best friend after I got home. She lived in Florida, and I told her what had happened. And he said, what? And I said, well, he said, I'm sorry to hear about what's happened to your husband. Well, at that point, nobody knew what happened to my husband. I mean, he committed suicide that afternoon, but they didn't find his body till the next day.
Bill
now,
Clinton
what was that all
happened.
about?
Bill Clinton knew what happened.
Uh-huh.
I just can't imagine what you're going through. And then the decades of abuse that followed, and terror, sheer terror, that he put you and your family through.
Yep.
Let's move away a little bit from Bill Clinton to someone that, based on the conversations that we've had with you and the conversations we've had with former Secret Service, is quite possibly even more vile than Bill Clinton, and that's Hillary Clinton. In all of your time of working with the Clintons, what was the impression and what are your memories of Hillary Clinton like?
She was aloof. She was rude. She was arrogant. She was pretentious. You weren't allowed to look at her if you crossed her in the hall, like she was some kind of queen. I really saw no sign of any kind of empathy or sympathy for any other people whatsoever, either in the White House or people who had suffered through national disasters. She just doesn't have it in her.
Can you imagine if this was president? If it was president?
No. I don't even want to think about it.
I cannot imagine. And
I can't either.
And thank God, really, Kathleen, Willie, that Trump is in there and he had the wherewithal to bring you and Paula and Juanita, and the people who were Clinton victims, for a better way of saying it.
Oh, well, that's exactly what they were.
And it's just mind-boggling.
But not only were they were victims of Bill Clinton, but in my opinion, and I think you'll agree with me, Kathleen, you guys were victims of Hillary Clinton as well.
Yep.
Oh, or even worse. I've often asked my questions, and with all due respect to rape victims out there and Juanita and other women, who's worse, the rapist or the enabler?
Yeah. Okay, so this brings me to Harvey Weinstein. Okay, in this interview that he's doing, I don't even know who the interviewer is. Who is this?
He's some Brit.
Okay.
And I have no idea what channel or network or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
I know what you're talking about.
It's a profound interview because it really, unless you are just infatuated with Hillary Clinton, you watch this interview and go,
What is wrong with this person?
What an idiot.
Yeah.
What a wrong individual. What a troubled individual. I mean, that's what I got out of it.
So,
absolutely.
Obviously, most of the media is in the tank for Hillary Clinton. So this guy asks her a question about Harvey Weinstein.
What was your reaction when you first read those allegations?
I was shocked and appalled because I've known him through politics, as many Democrats have. He's been a supporter.
Yeah.
He's been a funder, and for all of us, for Obama, for me, for people who have run for office in the United States. This kind of behavior cannot be tolerated anywhere, whether it's in entertainment, politics.
Well,
after all, we have someone admitting to being a sexual assaulter in the Oval Office. There has to be a recognition that we must stand against this kind of action that is so sexist and misogynistic.
Since when is he a sexual assaulter?
I thought you was talking about Bill.
Yeah, of course I did, but then I realized he's not a sexual assaulter.
And he admitted. She says he admitted it.
Prize.
She says he admitted it.
Now I went to the University of Tennessee, so they didn't teach us words that had more than 6 or 7 letters in it. But I never heard of the word misogynistic until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, now it's all you hear.
How about you, Kathleen? Have you ever heard that word before?
No.
Okay.
It means strongly prejudiced against women. I had to actually look it up when it kept being said all the time.
That is so wrong. That is so wrong. I mean, the first person who was a foreman on his very first building was a woman.
I know.
It was a woman, a young woman, who did a fabulous job.
His top advisor is a woman.
Look at Kellyanne Conway.
Yeah.
They have to attack her.
His press secretary is a woman.
Now, yeah.
Exactly.
The State Department spokesman is a woman.
Heather Nauert. I worked with her.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
This guy clearly does not have a problem with women.
No, he doesn't.
And like I would say, probably about 90% of the men that are walking around on the planet have engaged in what we consider to be locker room talk, and it's usually little smart comments to overcompensate for a lack of genitalia. So, but back to you, Donna.
Well, the thing is, the Billy Bush tape they're referring to was, like you say, locker room talk.
Yeah. Locker room talk.
That's how Kim Jong-un says it.
Those are words.
Rocker loom talk.
The point
those were words, not action.
And the thing is,
and there's a big damn difference, right,
and
Kathleen?
Hillary has
You got that right.
And Hillary,
you got that right.
Hillary has to bring Trump in.
I'll never forget when we went into the spin room after the debate, and the first woman who got her microphone, under my nose was a young girl, and she looked at me and she said, "Don't you feel used?" And I looked at her. I shot her a look, and I said, "No, nobody uses me. No, I am not. If I felt used, I would not be here. If I'd had the presence of, well, isn't this old news? And if I'd had the presence of mind, but she was too far away, I should have gone and grabbed Juanita and said, here, ask Juanita that question."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But what really got me was how all of these starlets, many of which loved Harvey Weinstein until a couple weeks ago, were so appalled at what Donald Trump said. And they
didn't touch Bill Clinton. Look at the nasty, vile comments that came out of Ashley Judd. I mean, she's a vile woman.
Yep. But that's okay.
Well, she also can't
listen,
keep her clothes
you'll never
on.
convince me. You will never, ever, ever convince me that Meryl Streep didn't know what was going on. I'm sorry.
But they all did.
Fonda.
They all did.
So the next...
And hold on a second. Let's go back to Ashley Judd. Ashley Judd doesn't have any credibility with me because she can't do a movie without showing her boobs.
She's a nasty woman.
So now her mother, I have a lot of respect for, Naomi. But Ashley can't do a movie without taking her clothes off.
I didn't even know that. I thought Naomi would have been embarrassed.
All right, so what's the next soundbite we got here?
She probably was.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, let's let him just ask the next question.
And this depends upon women coming forward and having the courage to come forward.
Right.
And yet in your book, the three women brought onto stage by Trump attacking your husband, and you kind of dismissed them. Was that the right thing to do? Are you sure about that?
Well, yes, because that had all been litigated. I mean, that was the subject of a huge, investigation, as you might recall, in the late 90s, and there were conclusions drawn, and that was clearly in the past.
Given what Donald Trump has said and the way he's behaved, do you think he hates women?
I think he has a very narrow view of what a woman should be and is very focused on keeping women in their place. And so the way he treated Angela Merkel, for example, when she came to the Oval Office, where he would not shake her hand, where he would not look at her, compared with the way he treated Theresa May, whose hand he grabbed.
It was a grab, wasn't it?
Yes. I mean, so there's two kind of women. Women that I like and I can work with, and women that I'm afraid of or that would challenge me. I mean, that seems quite, sexist, if not misogynistic to me.
Well, what do you think about that? I can't imagine what's going through your mind.
I wouldn't shake hands with Angela Merkel either.
All right, but
I mean,
these were litigated.
He doesn't respect Angela Merkel.
This is grabbing at straws here. Anything that they can find. Anything that they can find. What I want to start hearing next is all the executives at NBC and ABC and CBS who've been molesting and sexual harassing and raping young women. Yeah. That's what I want to start hearing.
I agree.
I think NBC is running scared.
Well, absolutely, because they're in cahoots with the Weinstein Company for many projects and for decades.
They've got they co-direct different shows and movies, and I mean they're in it up to their necks.
All right, so Kathleen, when they said this was litigated, what happened with you and Juanita and Paula, that was
this was all litigated. This is all in the past. This is something that we don't need to dredge up again.
When is somebody gonna call her on these lies? Nothing was litigated. Paula Jones's case, they filed a lawsuit, but it was settled. It wasn't litigated. I wish mine had been litigated. I might have gotten a settlement. I know Juanita's wasn't litigated. I know Leslie Milley's wasn't litigated, and we all know how Kathy Shelton's was litigated.
I mean, it's just what gets me is the double standard. You have a D behind your name, you're okay. You have an R.
You have a D behind your name, you can lie, you can commit crimes, you can have corruption to the nth degree, you can violate human beings' rights, you can kill people, and you can get away with it.
And
all you got to do is deny it on television. And the media goes, "Hey, yeah, you're right. You didn't do anything wrong."
But
nobody questions it. No. Nobody calls her on it. When's that going to happen? She has everything set up for these book tours. Nobody can ask her a question. Nobody can really get close to her. If you get close to her and ask her a question, you get yanked off the stage. Everything is all everything is all taken care of ahead of time.
That's the way it was when she was a senator too.
Listen, the only people that are buying her books are conservative talk show hosts that are using it to absolutely tear her to shreds.
Or George Soros is buying a bunch of them to make it look better.
And Amazon, they're buying them all up so they can say that it's number one.
Exactly.
And you have a book that was on, is it still available on Amazon.com, your book, Kathleen?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Target, Caught in the Crosshairs of Bill and Hillary Clinton, by Kathleen Willey, folks. And you can read all about what Bill and Hill are really like. And the fact that Harvey Weinstein's not getting away with it because he's so egregious, they just couldn't ignore it anymore.
I think Harvey Weinstein is, in a odd way, kind of hot.
You are so bad.
And that I just lied. I just lied on the air.
Oh, okay. Did you?
Yeah,
really?
I just lied on the air.
You can find Kathleen's book again, Target, Caught in the Crosshairs of Bill and Hillary Clinton, on Amazon.com. And your website, A Scandal a Day, you still getting some contributions on that one, I bet, huh, Kathleen?
I never got contribution.
Oh, I thought people
Well, then you should. Starting right now, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't mean monetary contributions. I mean people, coming in with their scandals that they're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I've got lots of followers, yeah.
Exactly. So,
all right. Where's the book? Quick, Donna?
Amazon, Target, Caught in the Crosshairs of Bill and Hillary Clinton by Kathleen Willey, and ascandaladay.com. Read all about what Bill and Hill are really like and all the junk that goes on behind the scenes in the Democrat Party. Kathleen's seen it, been there, done that.
I'm going to say one quick thing, and we're out of time completely with Kathleen Willey. Kathleen, Donna and I love you like a sister, and we would absolutely fall on a sword for you.
Oh, that's so nice. I appreciate that. That means more than you know.
Well, you are a sweetheart, and we feel for you, and it took decades, but hopefully vindication is finally there.
Who we got coming up next, Donna?
Dr. RHONDA Moorman will be coming up after the break, talking about Obamacare next.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. Their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance, yes. When cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen. And this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio for this big final hour this Tuesday. I want to introduce everybody.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Don Neuen. Let me be the first to welcome you back to the top of the hour of segment number 3, of hour number 2. We have now made it to third base, ladies and gentlemen. This is the home stretch of the big radio show tonight, the big Cowboy Logic radio show that happens to be absolutely riveting.
Riveting.
Now, it's about to get extremely riveting, and it's because let me be the first to let you know that we've got one Dr. Rhonda Moorman on with this. And she is not only a dear friend, she is my personal doctor. Back to you, Donna.
She is?
Yeah, Rhonda, don't you consider you to be my personal doctor?
Well, actually, Don, yes, you and I have had a number of conversations about your health, and so I guess technically, yes, I am in fact your doctor.
Well, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll let you...
That's all I can say because of confidentiality, Don.
That's true.
Understand?
That's true.
But he never goes to the doctor. That's the problem. He spends all this money on health care, and he hasn't been to the doctor in about 5 years.
But if I did go to a doctor, it would be Rhonda Moorman. Because Dr. Rhonda Moorman, I will tell you this, there is only one person on the planet other than Donna Fiducia that will get me to turn my head and cough, and that is you, my dear.
That's quite a compliment, Ron Neuen. Thank you so much.
Too much information.
Can I put that on a business card?
Yes, ma'am. You can put it on your website for both your law practice and your medical practice and your book website.
I'll make you glad to turn your head and cough.
Hey, listen, I got to let everybody know, including you, Doctor. I just embarrassed myself for the first time.
I think you just embarrassed me. I'm not sure, but
no, I didn't, Doctor. Doctors don't get embarrassed.
No. It's just this mental.
Gotta get me out of this quick.
No,
I'm starting to get. I'm getting a hot flash.
The mental image now is going to make me go blind.
Take it, Donna.
All right, so
Doctor,
will
you be quiet?
I'm going to be quiet now.
Thank you. Dr. Rhonda Moorman is our good friend. Gosh, it's really scary.
That was a fake news cough.
Yes.
That was not real.
But he did turn his head when
I did. Of course I did.
All right. Dr. Rhonda Moorman is a brainiac. That's all you really need to know. She has gone to Harvard Law School, and she's also a medical doctor. Grew up in rural Georgia, attended Harvard Law with none other than Barack Hussein Obama. And later, if Harvard Law wasn't enough, she went on to medical school. Needless to say, not with Barack Obama, and did her medical training at Emory here in Atlanta and Grady Hospital, which is where you really need to cut your teeth if you want to be successful at all. She has seen it all. She's engaged in both a legal and medical practice, specializing in primary care and in law that she represents physicians and healthcare providers. And she, if Dr. Rhonda Moorman isn't qualified enough with all that other stuff, she's also an author. And her book is Mr. Obama and Me, My Classmate, Our President, and the Fight for Your Health. That pretty much sums it all up, and that's why we need a full hour with Dr. Rhonda Moorman coming up. Dr. Rhonda, welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Right,
why did you laugh, Donna? You're laughing at me. I can tell.
Your head and coughed earlier. I'm sorry.
That's all your fault, Don Neuen.
Really? Ladies and gentlemen, though, with all sincerity and all seriousness, if I were to see a doctor on a regular basis, I would only consider seeing Dr. Rhonda Moorman, even for things that have nothing to do with her specialty.
Exactly, because
I trust her like a sister, and that's important. And Dr. Rhonda Moorman, I know you've spoken about this in previous shows that you've been with us, as well as your own show that you had for a long time. Trust and communication between a doctor and a patient, or a patient and their doctor, is critical. And it's something that's big time lacking. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, when I say Dr. Rhonda Moorman is my doctor, that's why I consider her to be that.
Absolutely. But he is also, Dr. Rhonda Moorman, a health insurer's dream, because he pays through the nose on a monthly basis and never goes to the doctor. So this is why all of his premiums go to some illegal alien that isn't paying for anything. Anyhow, let's start out with the situation with Tom Price and the Health and Human Services Secretary. Years ago, a year ago, when Price got put in there, it wasn't even a year ago, 6-8 months ago at this point.
I think the point you're trying to make, Donna, is that Dr. Rhonda Moorman was never a fan of Tom Price.
So tell us a little bit about the situation and how you dealt with Tom Price right off the bat, and tell us, about the HHS secretary situation.
Sure. Well, I and you two know because you have read my book, but I discussed this in my book, and to briefly, what I talk about was, back when Obamacare was being debated, there were many physicians like myself across the country who actually went to Washington. I was invited by our Georgia Congress folks to come up and discuss the health care debate issue. And so I went to Washington, met with a number of Congress people, the entire Georgia delegate, and as a practicing physician, I was trying to reinforce how bad Obamacare promised to be. And so we were having a number of those conversations. Long story short, I began to notice that one by one they would sort of glaze over when we began to talk about the issue. Now, among the many meetings that I had a meeting with Tom Price. And at the time, I was considering running, actually, for a Georgia seat, Jim Marshall's seat in Middle Georgia. So, we were having those discussions. So they set up a meeting between me and Tom Price. Tom Price at the time was considered untouchable in Congress, meaning that he was such a proficient and successful fundraiser. No one could touch him, and so they wanted me to meet with him. So I did. Now, you have to realize this meeting was physician to physician. So we sat down. It took forever to actually sit down with him. He was so busy. He walks into the room clearly irritated, did not want to be meeting with me. We sat down. I tried to discuss health care with him, and he basically told me that, in no uncertain terms, that while, it was fine to feel, strongly about a principle, he said, well, health care, fine. If you care about that, that's fine. But he said it is tone clearly indicated that wasn't important. And then he basically proceeded to lecture me on the fact that it would be my job to raise money and that the money is all that mattered. All that mattered was the money. And then he had the gall to actually look at me and say, you know what, I have a nest egg. I have money, so it's not a problem for me. And he looked at me and he said, you don't have money. So all you will do is spend your life raising money. And he said, so you know what, if you don't want to do that, he said, just go back to Georgia and get back in the ER. Then he proceeded to stand up and walk out of the room. I tried to give him my business card. How long did that last? The meeting was probably, 5 minutes tops. I mean, I tried to give him my business card. He promptly passed it off to his assistant. The assistant gave me his card. He ushered me out of the room, put his cell phone to his ear, and disappeared into the House chambers.
Wow.
Now, this, and I made the comment in the book, I said, this is our champion? This is our champion in the healthcare debate? Really?
And this was well before he was HHS secretary.
Oh, yeah, this was back in 2009. This was in the fall of 2009. And then the following year, after Obamacare had been passed and it was starting to be implemented, I went to a meeting of a group called the AAPS, the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. Now, that is the one group that has really opposed Obamacare. But I was at this meeting. Tom Price, who is also a member, had flown into Atlanta and was speaking to us and going on and on very elaborately about how hard he had worked to oppose Obamacare, albeit with no success. But, when he finished his speech, I simply walked up to him. You have to realize this is just like a few months, after I had met with him in D.C. I walked up to him, and he just sort of looked blankly at me, and I said, well, Congressman Price, do you remember me? We met in D.C. And he's like, yeah. And then he's sort of looking around the room, and I said something about health care, and he just kind of walks away from me. He just walks away, This is Tom Price. And so I told somebody recently, I said, this stuff that came out about the airline, the chartered flights and all that. I said, the funny thing is everybody sort of seems to be under the impression that, all this went to Tom Price's head and this is newly bad behavior. Oh, no. This is Tom Price, and And Donna, y'all will probably remember, because I know you listened to a lot of the shows that I did when I had the radio show. I was doing a weekly radio show when Tom Price was appointed to be Secretary of HHS. And at the time, I said, any of you who read my book will realize that I am no Tom Price fan. But I said, I really hope that I was wrong. I said, I really hope that I just met him on a bad day. I saw him again on a bad day.
Two bad days.
And I hope, because he talks a good talk, as all politicians do. And I said, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, of course we see. I wasn't wrong.
Well, you were absolutely right.
We met him at a Trump bus rally, a Trump rally. He showed up, and I got a very different opinion of him. But again, you're right.
Well, that's because he wanted to stand in front of the Trump bus and have his picture taken.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
Hey, let's take a minute here. We've been talking about your book, and your book is Why We Met. Mm-hmm. Back in, I don't even remember when it was. We were in Augusta at the Georgia
Republican convention. The state convention.
Mm-hmm. And you were the only person we cared about meeting, Rhonda. Yeah. You had a booth set up with your book, and before we went into the convention, you had a line that was longer than we just wanted to stand in. And so we waited till afterwards and waited and waited and waited, and finally the line, everybody left the building, and that's when we had the opportunity to go over and spend time with Dr. Rhonda Moorman. But we met because of your book. And ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna give you information throughout this hour. This is a fascinating look into Barack Obama, healthcare, and quite frankly, Dr. Rhonda Moorman's leap into politics, which I would give anything if she would do again, but she's not going to. She made that very clear, both in the book and to me before we went on the air. But, Donna, have you got the websites? It's MoormanMedia.com.
MOORMAN, MoormanMedia.com. And again, the book is Mr. Obama and Me, My Classmate, Our President, and the Fight for Your Health. The big thing
and what will they, hold on a second, Donna, what will they, Rhonda, what do they need to do to get an autographed copy of this book?
I have my own.
Actually, all of the ones that go out from the website are autographed. If they just order a copy, it will be autographed.
MoormanMedia.com. And if you put a special note in your request, I too, Don Neuen, will sign this book for you as well for a mere $25 extra, right? Isn't that the arrangement?
No, and that will never happen. Because nobody's going to want
Way
that.
to squelch that instantly, Fiducia.
Because you can find it on Facebook and Amazon.
Here I am trying to help things out, help sales, help book sales, and you squelch it.
That's going to be a deterrent.
Whoa! Okay, so, I need Bactine for that.
With Tom Price. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Evening at the Fiducia Neuen house.
Well, no, because I'm used to that.
All right, with Tom Price, the bottom line is, and you said this to me, and I just didn't want to believe it. I was hoping you were wrong, and I think we were all hoping you were wrong, but unfortunately you weren't.
We were.
Is that he never wanted to repeal Obamacare, and that's huge. Right. And I'm thinking to myself, this whole, we're going to vote on the skinny bill. We're going to vote on the other thing, and everything is failing. I'm thinking to myself, where the heck is Tom Price in all this? Apparently he was flying around in private jets.
Yes. Well, you saw in all of this that despite, and you have to realize, by the time we were talking about repeal and replace, which we have been for the last year, we were the bill was passed it was debated basically in 2009, passed in 2010. So, we're now, 7 to 8 years out. Okay. So, a lot of time has passed. And for all of those years, people like Tom Price were going on and on and on about how they had, he had the Empowering Patients First Act. They had the solution. Now, the point I make in the book is it sounds nonsensical to say, after all of this talk from the soapbox, that people like Tom Price actually wanted Obamacare to pass. They did not want to repeal or replace it. But just think about it. Think about the incentives. Obamacare has given folks like Tom Price their ticket to re-election. every 2 years because he gets to climb up on that soapbox and talk about how he has a solution to fix the Obamacare mess. People are getting desperate. People like us who are paying through the nose for insurance that we then can't use, we are getting desperate. He knows that folks will have no choice but to reelect him based on these empty promises. Now, if he actually were to do something, he and his colleagues, if they were to actually fix the Obamacare disaster, all of that would go away. He'd have to find something else to run on. So they actually, and you have to remember, these guys, I don't care what anybody says, despite their talk, these guys were sitting there in Congress when Obamacare was debated and passed and implemented and funded. At every point, what did we hear? Reelect me so we don't pass it, then it gets passed. Reelect me so we don't implement it, then it gets implemented. Reelect me because I won't agree to fund it, and then it gets funded. See, it's a never-ending conveyor belt that we're on, all moving us toward the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very, very useful for them. It's very useful for a bunch of politicians who know that they have already exempted themselves.
That's what I wanted Trump to do. I wanted Trump to make these jerks in D.C., in the deep swamp, and I shouldn't even call it a swamp. Our good friend has told us that, a swamp is a viable ecosystem. This is a cesspool. So we want to drain the cesspool. The thing is, these guys, Trump needs to make these guys feel the pain. All of them. Make them pay for it. I actually heard on WSB, our big talker here out of Atlanta, I forget what show it was, a congressman, it wasn't from Georgia, but it was some congressman talking about how, gosh, I don't know what would happen if we all had to live under the Obamacare rules because I only have $2 million a year to run my office and my staff would leave. I'm thinking to myself, what business gets $2 million fronted to them every year and gets to stay afloat with, free money? That's number one. And number two, they need to feel the pain. Trump needs to get now to the point where he does not exempt them anymore, because that's exactly what happened under Obamacare. As soon as it got passed, all the Democrats ran to Obama and said, oh, look, no, we can't pay for this. We don't want to pay for this. Please exempt us. And he did. Well, you know what? Trump can reverse that right away. And this needs to happen.
Yeah, but why is he not reversing that and making Congress go on to the same Obamacare stipulations that the rest of us are on? Dr. Rhonda Moorman, why is that?
Well, and that is what is frustrating to people like me. And you guys know, I was as pro-Trump as they come. I wasn't blinded by Trump, but I did feel as though he was the best option that we had at the time. I still feel that way. I'm very supportive of Trump, and I hope his agenda works. So far, I have been pretty disappointed. I've certainly been disappointed on the health care front. I think his heart is in the right place, but quite honestly, I think that he is playing the Washington game. And I don't, whether he realizes that, I don't know. But the appointment of Tom Price indicated that he was being led around by career politicians who, yes, Price would have been their choice. Who are they talking about now? Bobby Jindal and this Scott Gottlieb, who is a higher-up at the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. These are bureaucrat yes men. This is the Washington cesspool at work. I don't mean that these guys are individually bad people. I mean that they're playing the political game. I mean, the truth is, that's the first thing, what you were discussing, Donna, about not allowing members of Congress to exempt themselves. I would have thought before now that would be a given, that it not just with Obamacare, any law that Congress passes, they should never be allowed to exempt themselves.
Well, I believe that is a law, but they're ignoring it. Insider information, the same thing. Right. They said, we'll exempt ourselves from insider Wall Street trading information that lasted about 2 weeks, and then they went right around it anyhow. They're allowed to trade stocks and do their finances based on information they have from insiders because They have that political clout. None of us are able to do that. In radio, the same thing. Back in the 50s, they had what was called payola and plugola. Disc jockeys got stopped from playing music if they were paid to play it. That's not, and Congress made sure that was stopped.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me jump in here a second, Donna, because we've only got a couple of minutes left. I want to remind you that you are listening to the Milano's Pizza Medical Update Report right here on Cowboy Logic Radio. Dr. Rhonda Moorman, let's give out your website again. If you don't mind, I would like for you to share it with everyone.
Sure, that is MOORMANmedia.com, and that's my last name. That's spelled MOORMAN, MOORMANmedia.com. And we got a lot of good stuff there that folks can order my book, Mr. Obama and Me, from the website. And it will be autographed by me. Unfortunately, probably not by Don Neuen, but you can probably mail it to Don Neuen and have him sign it.
You wouldn't be able to read it anyhow. He has chicken
I write
scratch.
like a doctor.
He should be a doctor the way he writes.
It's terrible, Dr. Rhonda Moorman. I mean, here's what happened with me. In the last minute and a half here, I'm going to share some me information because our listeners are fascinated with me.
No, they're not. Well, go ahead. Tell the story. I know what you're going to say.
I was actually born left-handed, and they switched me over when I was little. In like whatever they switch you in, first grade or kindergarten or something like that, made me start writing right-handed. And to this day, I can't write in cursive. And I was, because you and I are very similar, we're close to the same age. We learned how to write in cursive, unlike what's going on now.
They don't teach it now.
But
Right.
I can't. I can sign my name in cursive. Everything else I have to print because I'm supposed to be doing it left-handed.
Have you seen Donald Trump's autograph? It's even worse than yours.
No.
It's really
can't
bad.
Well, I read one or I saw him speaking. Somebody mentioned, when he gets to the last P, he does this weird thing that's like an upside down V that goes back into the name.
These big V's.
He said he did that because it's impossible for somebody to copy.
Ah, interesting.
It's weird.
That makes sense.
Kind of smart.
It's exactly why I write the way I do.
But I'm pretty good at copying yours because I signed.
Yeah,
all
you're
the
pretty
checks.
good. But we probably shouldn't be talking that on the radio, Donna.
We should. All right, so here.
Mr. Obama and Me
Yes,
by Dr.
Mike.
Rhonda Moorman, found at MOORMANmedia.com. When we get back from the break, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to learn something stunning, appalling, sickening, nauseating from Dr. Rhonda Moorman, and that is going to be what happened to her personal insurance.
It's coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. Their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire.
Hi, thank you for listening. My name is Ron Phillips, and I'm the owner and operations manager of Talk America Radio. It is with great pride that I offer you these two 24/7 streams of some of the finest talk radio programming in the country, but I need your support. Talk America Radio is a listener-supported network. That means we need your help to continue to offer the quality programming you're hearing right now. Please visit talkamericaradio.us and click the Support Us button. You can contribute monthly or send us a one-time amount. We'll put it to good use continuing to share the American voice. Thank you.
Antifa is at war with your government.
Antifa is an organization that claims to fight fascism, but is actually, the most fascist organization probably in the United States.
Their only argument they really have is, we want to be the thugs in control and not you.
They believe that right-wingers need to be stopped by any means necessary.
The dangerous stuff is the media asking whether it's okay to punch a Nazi at the same time as branding everyone Nazis.
If you are waving a Nazi flag, 1, you're a moron, 2, you're a terrible person.
The ideology of communism was not defeated.
There are plenty of stories of the homes of fascists being raided and all of their things being smashed.
They're not freedom fighters pushing for less government. They're brainwashed communists trying to kill people.
And at one point, you're gonna snap.
This is Denise Simon, host of the Denise Simon Experience. When I'm not debating with Donna Fiducia about politics, I listen to Cowboy Logic Radio. Why, you ask? Because outside of my blog, founderscode.com, and my own radio show, the Denise Simon Experience, Cowboy Logic is by far the most entertaining and informative radio show on planet Earth. Plus, Don makes me feel guilty if I don't listen to his radio show every week.
Hi, this is Captain Matt Bruce from the Captain's America Third Watch, and you're listening to Talk America Radio, the new dominant force in conservative talk radio.
Hi, it's Mark Walters from Armed American Radio. You know, for nearly a decade, I've been educating, informing, and entertaining responsibly armed Americans. And during that time together, we've shared some ups and downs, haven't we? Trump's election saved our Supreme Court and no doubt the future of our gun rights for now. But now is not the time to lay down. The enemies of freedom are well-funded and more determined than ever. To keep up with the state of your gun rights, make sure to tune in to Armed American Radio right here on Talk America Radio, the new dominant voice in conservative talk radio.
Hi there, this is Suzanne Shattuck, and you're listening to Talk America Radio.
Hi, I'm Ward Cleaver.
And I'm June Cleaver.
From Leave It to Beaver. And you're listening to Talk America Radio.
Ward, aren't you a little tough on the beaver?
No, we can't say that. Do it again.
She said it on the show. She said it on the show. That's where it came from. That was 30 years ago.
All right, let's try it again. Hi, I'm Ward Cleaver.
And I'm June Cleaver.
Try it again. Don't laugh. Okay, game face.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ward Cleaver.
And I'm June Cleaver.
From the hit show Leave It to Beaver. And you're listening to Talk America Radio.
Ward, don't you think you're being a little hard on the beaver?
Hi, this is Dr. Kelly Ward, running for the United States Senate from the great state of Arizona, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Hey, everybody, they're back on again.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts, when their hearts were filled with memories, bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around.
Welcome back to Cowboy.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Let me, Don Neuen, be the first to welcome you guys back to the fourth
final
and riveting. I held up 3 fingers. The fourth and riveting segment with our dear friend, the wonderful, the beautiful, the talented, the skilled, the highly educated, the brilliant Dr. Rhonda Moorman. Rhonda, was that good enough?
Man, I tell you, I just wish we could just end the segment right here, Don. I mean, I think that's all everybody needs to know. Really,
Unlike your
really.
former classmate, who is, to me, a total mental midget. That would be one Barack Hussein Obama, but knows how to play the political game. Tell us a little bit about, really briefly, what you observed when you went to Harvard Law School with Barack Obama.
Yeah, well, you know, I make the point a number of places in my book, but to make an extremely long story short, what I like to tell folks is everything that you have heard about Barack Obama that is flattering, i.e. that he was a scholar, he was a great writer, he was an eloquent speaker, all of that is bunk. None of that is true. He is none of those things. All of the things that you have heard about him that are unflattering are true. So this was the Barack Obama that I knew. You know, fairly aimless law student. He never went to class. He never actually did anything. He never really wrote anything of any substance. This idea that he gave eloquent speeches, I have no idea where that came from. I mean, you know, now he was notorious on the Harvard Law School campus, but for all the wrong reasons. He was notorious because he kept, you know, I mean, Harvard Law School is pretty competitive place. Everybody's fighting to be the top of a very high heap, okay? So, but he just was given every honor, every accolade, every title for no reason. Now, I was in classes with folks who, you know, would go on to win Pulitzers and Nobel Prizes and, you know, be I mean, many of them have entered government service. Many of them became law school professors themselves, that sort of thing. I went to school with some great people. Barack Obama wasn't one of them. And yet, every time it came time to recognize a student, 9 times out of 10, it was Barack Obama. And then we would all scratch our heads and look around and say, what is it about this kid? Now, no one had any idea that he was going to become our president. But we really were puzzled. I put it that way. Now, I could only make sense of that experience in retrospect. Because in retrospect, what I came to understand is that I believe that it was his years at the Harvard Law School. That is where Barack Obama was chosen. Mm-hmm. In other words, he was chosen as the fellow who was going to use the race card and ride that card to, they hoped, the presidency. Now, the reason I say that is that he came to us this sort of aimless person. He wasn't, he was no black activist, I put it that way. He became that at Harvard, and I believe it was at Harvard that they simply decided to make him into something that he wasn't. And that's why, they kept giving him every prize, giving him, he was commissioned to write a book about race relations, about which he knew nothing, by a major publisher. He just, all these things happened to him continually, while the rest of us were kind of pushed down and told to get out of the way. So we knew there was something odd about this fellow. And then in retrospect, of course, we have come to realize that that was actually what was happening, mm-hmm. is that he was being lifted. In other words, he was being hoisted by a very liberal university administration into a position where he could then go on and run for office, first in Illinois and then the U.S. Senate and then, of course, the presidency. But all of this stuff, and now when they interview any of these Harvard professors, like, oh, yes, he was the most gifted student I ever had. No, he was never in class. So,
you kept saying they elevated him. They gave him the free pass. And you may have answered my question, and it's also, ladies and gentlemen, in the book. I'm asking the question for your benefit. They. Who do you consider they to be? Because I don't believe it stopped with the Harvard administration.
No. Oh, no. It wasn't them at all. They were used. They were complicit in it. But by they, now all we can do, and you've got all these rumors floating around, George Soros, the Muslim Brotherhood, all that stuff. I suspect that some of that is mixed in. But if you want to answer the question, I think the person we have to look to is James Sowell. The conservative author and thinker, James Sowell, because Sowell actually, most people don't realize this, Obama came to the Harvard Law School in 1988. In 1987, James Sowell wrote an editorial in the newspaper which has since been almost scrubbed. But in that editorial, he was warning. He said, my sources tell me that in the near future that there is a young man somewhere in some system that has been chosen, and he said he will be black and Muslim, and the plan is to use the race card against America and to elevate this person. He said, I don't know who it is, and I don't know where he is, but my sources tell me that this individual is in the system, and he will be the first black president. Now, this was a year before Barack Obama came to Harvard Law School. He was at Columbia at the time.
Wow. You talking about Thomas Sowell? Thomas Sowell?
I mean, Thomas Sowell. I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure. I was trying to figure, because you pronounce it a little differently, too.
James Thomas.
Yeah, Sowell.
But, because I agree.
Right.
And I totally...
Tommy James?
Will you stop?
Wasn't he with the Shondells?
Crimson and Clover. Are we?
Right.
I mean, because the other thing is Occidental College and all these other undergrad colleges of his.
Right.
The stuff was sealed. and nobody at Columbia ever saw him. I mean, this is total placement. I agree, total placement. But let's fast forward now to the situation, and I firmly believe that Obama was a Muslim as well, just based on how he acted, but that's another story. Now, Dr. Rhonda Moorman, you are healthy. You have no pre-existing conditions. We're almost 9 years now into Obamacare, and they say once you get into 10 years with anything, any government program, that's pretty much the death knell. You can't get out of it. We have not repealed Obamacare. Tell us what you got in the mail recently.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those. I'm living the horror story of the regular American now. I'm certainly not alone, but I am for the most part self-employed. I'm 50. I'll be 53 here shortly. I have no health conditions whatsoever. I have no medical history. I don't smoke. I don't drink too much. I'm not overweight. I don't take any medications, nothing. I have a policy with Blue Cross Blue Shield that I purchased on the individual open market. I watched that, for many years I paid $129 a month, had a pretty low deductible, was rocking along, never used it for anything. And then all of a sudden, here comes Obamacare. So it went up to, within like a few months, it went to, $298, then $498. It is now $608 a month. My deductible is very, very high. I have about a $10,000 deductible. I will never even touch that. It doesn't cover the odd medication I may have to take. None of it's ever covered. Nothing that if I go get a mammogram, the things we normally do for preventive care, none of that is ever covered. And then, of course, I just got a letter that many folks, certainly anybody with Blue Cross Blue Shield in Georgia just got, that they are leaving our market. So by January, I have to, by the end of December actually, I have to find somewhere else. Now, this is after several years now paying them $608 a month for nothing, for zero. And now I have to just go find something else. Now, they're going to have to do something because, and I've made the point many, many times that in my mind, all that Obamacare, Obamacare is not about health or care. It's about redistribution.
Yep.
And what Obamacare is meant to do is, in essence, change who it is that is uninsured. What I mean by that, Don and Donna, is that folks like us who have always tried to do the right thing and buy our insurance and maintain it, they're now forcing us to be uninsured because, if it goes up much more, I won't have a choice. I won't have any choice but to be uninsured. I can only afford so much for nothing.
It's an additional it's an additional house payment at this point for many people.
It is.
Now, you're a medical doctor, so here you are trying to do your job and help people, and this is stopping you. We have a friend who just moved down here from New Jersey. She is a retired doctor. Obamacare forced her out of her practice. She's a little older than you, but no pre-existing conditions again. She pays $1,000 a month, and she has a $7,500 deductible. She, too, is being thrown off her current insurance. We had it triple. We switched to this Liberty Health Share, which is a sharing ministry. It's not quite insurance, but you know what? It's $199 a month, and they do have a $1 million policy per existing episode. To me, that's a heck of a lot better than...
Well, here's the thing, Donna. Listen,
it's killing the economy in general too, because people don't go and spend that money.
Yeah, the question, ladies and gentlemen, health insurance is actually not anything that is tangible. It's not a real thing. Health care is, and the ability to pay for health care is. But health insurance doesn't mean anything. Most of us, Donna, myself, Dr. Moorman, we don't even use what we pay for. But health care, being able to get it and being able to pay for it is a whole other thing. And that's one, and this is not a plug for Liberty Health Share, but I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. It's great stuff. And if you're not a big-time smoker, or if you don't have a problem with alcohol, or if you're not walking around living a complete unhealthy lifestyle, then you ought to look into it. Because it costs an individual, what, Donna, $199 a month?
$199.
$500 deductible. $1 million
for family.
Yeah,
per episode.
Yeah, and if you have a family, husband, wife, and say 3 kids, it's $399 a month.
It's what insurance used to be. And, when I go and get the regular stuff done, I end up paying cash for it. I don't even take it out of my deductible because I figure that's I've saved so much during the course of the year. I wouldn't even ask for them to put it into the sharing ministry, even though they offer yearly help. I mean,
but here we've given 2 examples of
doctors,
quite frankly, pillars of the medical community, right. Dr. Rhonda Moorman and Dr. Tina Patillo, that are being bumped from their insurance. They've been paying it religiously, and quite frankly, when you take in the premiums that are monthly, that are ridiculous, and then you've got this unbelievably high deductible, you're talking about on an annual basis $20,000 before you're able to receive any type of financial assistance toward your medical care. Right, Rhonda?
That's exactly true. And listen to this. Is this not the height of irony? Now, I spend my life in the ER providing emergency care to folks. And I was one of the ones who got that letter from Blue Cross Blue Shield that said that they would no longer pay for me to go to an ER unless, in retrospect, they determined that my life was actually in jeopardy. Now, so what you're telling me is if I have chest pain and end up going to my own ER and having a colleague of mine treat me, and then later they determined, that something else was going on, and I survived the event, that then Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to deny me coverage for that ER visit because in retrospect, even though I did have chest pain and I preach to everybody else about coming to see me in the ER when they have chest pain, but if I do the same thing, in retrospect, if they decide that something else was going on, they're not going to pay for that ER visit.
All right, so me. That brings us back to Obama.
Well, hold on. Before we go back to Obama, Doctor, what happens when Miguel and Maria, who are down in South Georgia illegally working on a chicken farm, come into your ER with a head and chest cold? What happens to those people, and what happens to the bill when it's not paid?
Yeah, what actually happens, as you know, is they get the full 9 yards. They get everything. They pay us nothing. They don't even have to tell us their name. We also have to pay to get an interpreter in there because most of them will act as though they don't speak English, whether they do or not. So we have a host of people taking care of them and interpreting for them and all of these services. They will never pay a dime. No one will ever question whether or not they should have actually come to an ER with a head cold. And that's that. So, basically, I am paying for them to receive everything for nothing.
Yeah, they get Cadillac-plated insurance.
And men need maternity care. Everybody, it's just stupid.
Well,
coverage.
And let me follow up with one question, Doctor. And do you think twice, and I know the answer to this because you live by the Hippocratic Oath, you don't think twice about taking care and providing medical care to an individual that you know darn well is scamming the system, right?
Oh, no. That's what we do. At any modern-day ER, I'd say at least 50% of what you see is that exact situation. Now, most people don't realize that it actually, insurance coverage and whatnot, once you get in an ER, once you get beyond the front registration desk, which I have nothing to do with, I'm not even within earshot of them, they're typically in a different part of the ER. Once they bring them back, I have no reason to even know what their insurance situation is. Most ERs will blind me to that information, and I like it that way, quite frankly, because I don't treat anybody any differently. depending on, I just, those are not factors for me. I care about one thing. I've got a human being here in front of me with a problem. Can I fix it? How bad is it? Those sorts of things. So, but most people don't realize that. They like to paint some picture of doctors as though we're constantly, judging people and we're denying care. When Jimmy Kimmel got up there and acted like, I feel sorry for what they've been through with his infant son, and I'm glad they took care of the problem. But, then for him to have the gall to act like, if they had not been wealthy, that, the baby would have just been allowed to die. That's just a lie. That's a lie. In that situation, nobody even cares who you are or how much money you have or how much insurance you have. That child will receive identical care.
Not only the fact that you have gold-plated benefits when you work at a major network anyhow. That I know from personal experience. Let's get back to Barack Obama, because obviously it's Obamacare that's still in place, and this was meant to fail in the back years, which we're in right now, 8, 9, and 10. And he promised a bailout for the insurance companies. It puts Trump in a hard place, because if he doesn't do it, what really is happening? Then everybody has no care. It's really scary. What do you feel needs to be done at this point?
Well, what really needs to be done, it's just, I don't think it won't happen. It can't happen, in fact. But this should never have been something that, in other words, it was always impossible to have one massive statute like the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, that was going to cover everything for everybody. That was always a mistake. We had to have piecemeal reform. We have to do something as a nation to get the middleman out of health care, because, you cannot imagine what it feels like on my end of things, practicing medicine. There are so many middlemen in between me and my patient that I can no longer even see my patient. I'm in charge of nothing. I'm the one with all the medical training, and yet I'm in charge of nothing. I can't do what needs to be done, because every time I turn around, there's some middleman, or there's a regulation or something. Now, unfortunately, what politicians do, and you alluded to it before, Don, that they make it a question of insurance. This is not a question of insurance. It's a question of access to health care. And as you mentioned, Don, the two questions are very different. They're very, very different. We needed insurance reform. We certainly did. But what we really need is to get back to a free market health care system. I don't think politicians are capable of doing that. I don't think Donald Trump or anybody else can make that happen. Unfortunately, I believe that we are stuck with Obamacare, and we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. I don't know that anybody knows exactly what the answer should be. What I do know, quite frankly, is that the people who are going to solve this problem are not politicians. They're not. They're not going to solve this problem. I tell people, if you've got a doctor you like, you need to go to them and talk to them. You need to talk to them about, how much do you need for an office visit? How does this work? Talk about free market solutions, and then see if you can find that for yourself, because you're going to need it.
Yeah, because if you pay cash, the price comes down. Dr. Rhonda Moorman, real quick.
Well, which is a huge thing with regard to Liberty Health Share. Exactly. And again, we're not trying to peddle this, ladies and gentlemen. We do have a link to it on our website, cowboylogic.us. Go check it out. If it's right for you and your family, get it. It is right for Donna and I. It may be right now that Dr. Rhonda Moorman is faced with what she's faced with. But if you've got a Harvard-educated, Emory-educated doctor/lawyer that works currently in the emergency room, and she gets dumped from her health insurance policy, it's probably going to happen to you at some point around the corner if you've had to go out and get your own policy.
All right, we have only about a minute left, Dr. Rhonda Moorman. I want you to talk briefly, if you could, about what Trump tried to do last go-round when it got shot down. That was to throw a lot of these block grants to the states and let the states deal with their insurance situations.
The block grants I feel like they're a good idea. I mean, that's very much a conservative, that's a mainstay of the conservative argument, which is give these block grants to the states. They know better than the federal government what they need. That's a very conservative principle, self-governance. So I believe in that, and I think that is a step in the right direction. Now, I think that what is happening to Trump, to broadly state it, because we don't have much time, is that he is just running up against the political machinery. And so all it takes, you know, at the end of very long debates, you know, you have 2 or 3 senators or Congress people who hold out, you know, for the goodies, and then we start this roundabout, you know, parade of insanity where they're trying to strike deals behind closed doors, and you know, that's just never going to work. And, you know, it's unfortunate because they have some good ideas, but I'm not sure at this point that they'll ever be able to implement any of them because they keep tying everything together. And, you know, just have some up or down votes, guys.
Yeah,
just have some up or down votes.
Well, the real big problem, I hate to say it, is John McCain and the other 2 rhino women, yes. Alaska and Mikulski, or whatever her name is, from New Hampshire. The thing is, McCain gets to go to the Mayo Clinic, of course, so he doesn't have to live by Obamacare. And Dr. Kelly Ward, who also is having problems, and she's a doctor herself that ran against John McCain, thank God is trying to run again. Had she been in there, we would have Obamacare repealed, and let's just hope Arizona wakes up. All right, well, Dr. Rhonda Moorman, it goes way fast, way too fast. Find her at MoormanMedia.com. That's MOORMAN Media.com. You can find her on Facebook and Amazon as well. And the book, Mr. Obama and Me, My Classmate, Our President, and the Fight for Your Health. Please get it, folks. If you order it, it will be autographed. But Dr. Rhonda Moorman, always great to talk to you, and thanks for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Thank you so much, guys. A lot of fun, as always.
It always is. And unfortunately, folks, that does wrap up another show. So find us again at cowboylogic.us, talkamericaradio.us, where you'll find all of our great shows. There's some 60 different shows for you to listen to, folks. Please check it out. It's a wonderful website, talkamericaradio.us. We will see you next week, and God bless America.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. Their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance, yes. When cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance, yes. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.